Hello, my name is Eric Von Connors. I was just a normal guy until the night I learned what I truly was. A half-breed. Half vampire and half angel. I had all their powers and none of their weaknesses, save for one, the bloodlust. Also on that faithful night, I discovered the Order, a group dedicated to safeguarding the delicate equilibrium between good and evil. Get ready for a journey through the supernatural, where vampires, angels, and lycans coexist, each with their own struggle and triumphs. Come along with me, and together we'll embark on an adventure into the most epic tales that will defy even your expectations. Welcome, my friends, to The Order, the podcast.
Chapter 9. Out to Sea. The room was thick with tension as Dawn and Storyk stood side by side. A chair crashed against the wall beside them, splintering into pieces. Lord Dracason, furious and seething with rage, glared at the man who had thrown the chair. His eyes were glowing a blood-red hue as his teeth clenched in a snarl. "How could they kill the Dracator?" he snarled, his voice vibrating with fury. He was one of the most powerful beasts. Dawn and Storyk exchanged a brief glance, their expressions stoic as they turned their gaze back to their raging king. Slowly, Cassandra entered the room, her presence calm and mesmerizing. As she walked toward Dracason, his anger seemed to dissipate for a moment, replaced by a smirk of approval. She leaned in, kissing him deeply, passionately, making Dracason almost forget about his previous fury. As they parted, Tessa entered the room, her face flushed with anger at the sight of the display. "My lord, I have news from Siren's Bay," Tessa said, her tone respectful but filled with frustration. Dracason, still caught in the afterglow of Cassandra's kiss, nodded absent-mindedly. "Go on, Tessa," he murmured. "They sent you a gift, lord," Tessa said, her eyes gleaming with anticipation. "The Vodyanoi is headed this way." "Very good," Dracason said, his voice cold and distant. "Now leave me." Tessa, Cassandra, and the others began to exit the room, but before the door could close fully, Dracason called, "Not you, Cassandra. You may join me in my bedchamber." Cassandra draped herself over his arm, flashing a sly look at Tessa as the door clicked shut behind them.
Riddle me this. What do you get when you get 3 Power Ranger fans who also write Power Ranger fan fictions and upload them on separate podcasts and YouTube channels, and you happen to put the 3 of them together and they form a unique Power Ranger storyline? Here's your answer. You get the 3 Ranger Bros, who is myself, Ty Tiger, the Red Corner Ranger, Mark, and the Cosplay Dude 637. We are the 3 Ranger Bros, and we came up with the idea called Power Rangers Global, a storyline where 4 different Rangers from different universes team up to save Universe 2118, a universe ruled by the gods. Now, if you want to hear Power Ranger Global, you can find it on Tiger Tales, the YouTube channel, and Nerds Through Comics, the podcast, and you can find that podcast anywhere that podcast can be listened to. So one more time, that's Power Rangers Global on Tiger Tales, the YouTube channel, and Nerd Through Comics, the podcast.
Back at Van's apartment, the tension was palpable, but still manageable. Van and Bella had just finished their morning workout routine, and from the sounds of soft laughter, Tasha and I were standing in the living room. "Dude, she owned you," I chuckled from the sidelines, unable to help myself. "Baby, that looked like it hurt," Tasha teased, leaning back against the wall, clearly enjoying herself. Van rolled over, flipping himself back onto his feet with a growl. He dropped into a tiger-style fighting stance. Bella, always the calm one, raised an eyebrow before shifting into an MMA-style stance, her confidence unmistakable. $20 says he meets the mat again, Mutt, I said, a mischievous grin spreading across my face. "You're on, Fangs," Tasha shot back, ready for whatever came next. The two began to circle each other, the atmosphere charged with anticipation. I watched the tension build between them, waiting for the clash. But before they could engage, a scream rang out from the sidelines. My head snapped to the side just as Tasha was tackled to the ground by a young male figure. I hissed and jumped back instinctively, my eyes flashing red. There are more of them. We're getting overrun by mutts. Who are you calling a mutt? A young woman, maybe 18 or 20, approached with a confident stride. Her fiery red hair and emerald green eyes immediately caught my attention. I sniffed the air and smirked. "You're not a lichen," I said, raising an eyebrow, curious about her scent. Bella let out a squeal of excitement and rushed over. "Serena!" she exclaimed, pulling the girl into a tight hug. Behind Serena stood another girl, this one with short blue hair and soft, knowing blue eyes. Bella immediately pulled her into the hug as well. "Luna, you're here too," she said. I stood frozen for a moment, confused, before Van walked over and laid a hand on my shoulder. "Eric, meet the squad from Siren's Bay," Van said, gesturing to the two girls. "And ladies, meet Eric, the chosen one." I couldn't help but enjoy the looks on their faces when they heard my title. It was always amusing to see the shock and awe that followed. Some looked like they were about to bolt, while others just stared at me like I was some sort of deity. Tasha, still on the ground, helped the young man who had tackled her to his feet. He smiled, looking almost identical to her in both demeanor and appearance. "Fangface, meet my younger cousin Steve," Tasha said with a grin. Steve, standing at about 6 feet 1 inch, chuckled. "I thought you smelled funny," he said, elbowing Tasha in the ribs. I smirked. "Nice to meet you all. Hold on, you called him your brother?" "Yeah, he's my adopted brother," Serena said, offering a warm smile. "After we left my pack, Steve was too young to join the order, so they sent him to live with a family in Siren's Bay," Tasha explained. Van, ever the direct one, asked, "So why are you guys in our neck of the woods?" "Typical Van, straight to the point," Luna smirked. "I never did like that when we dated." Tasha growled low under her breath, and Steve instinctively moved to stand beside his cousin. Luna's eyes narrowed, and she reached for something behind her. Serena grabbed her hand, stopping her. "Luna, this is not why we're here," Serena said, her voice firm. "Besides, you dumped him, remember? So stop trying to fight with Tasha over him." The two girls calmed down, but the tension was still there. I nodded toward Serena, signaling for her to continue. "Look, we got word that the Siren Court sent a Vodyanoi to the Vampire Lord," Serena said, her expression serious. "They sent us because we fought them before," Luna added, crossing her arms. "Oh yeah, we never told you, did we?" Bella said with a sly smile. "Luna's a siren, and Serena's half siren." "We can go in the water unlike you, vampire," Luna snapped, her eyes flashing. I felt my eyes and hair change color, my fangs extending as my temper flared. I started to move toward Luna, but before I could take another step, Tasha was already in action. She tackled Luna to the ground, sending her stumbling back. "Look here, Fish Breath, the only one who gets to talk to the Chosen One like that is me," Tasha snarled, her eyes glowing with wolf-like ferocity. I stood there, stunned. Tasha and I had never gotten along, and it seemed that tension was still simmering between us. Tasha glanced over at me, giving me a nod. I returned the nod and shifted back to my normal form. Okay, let's not do this. We're all on the same side," Steve said, trying to ease the tension. Tasha walked back to stand beside Van, still keeping an eye on Luna, who wiped the blood from her split lip. The two girls kept their eyes locked on each other, but the fight seemed to be over for now. "So what exactly is this monster that your queen sent to the Vampire Lord?" Van asked, trying to shift the focus back on track. "First off, she's not our queen," Serena corrected. "That witch stole the throne. The Vodyanoi is a creature that enjoys taking the form of an irresistibly attractive man and luring women into the water where it drowns them. That's why the Order thought you guys could use some sirens," Steve added.
Have you been teleported to the past? Or de-aged to look like a kid again? Or have you delivered a message to some strange woman who asks questions all the time? And are you stuck? Well, call TARDIS Taxis, the taxi service that don't get you where you want to go, but where you need to go. To book TARDIS taxis, simply call the number in last week's paper. Bookings are 6 months in advance. We cannot rearrange your booking, as it may rip a hole in the space-time continuum. Refunds are at the discretion of the Time Lords. Call TARDIS taxis, and we will get you home. One day.
The boat jerked again, this time with enough force to send Van and Tasha crashing into the side. I reached out to grab Bella, ensuring she wouldn't go overboard. The boat rocked violently, swaying like a leaf in a storm. "What the hell?" Tasha gasped, wiping the salt water from her face. She was still hanging onto the railing, trying to keep her balance. "I don't know, but stay alert," I shouted, my voice barely cutting through the stormy wind. My eyes scanned the water, but there was nothing visible yet, only the eerie glow of something below the surface moving fast. Serena and Luna stood on the edge of the boat, crouched low and prepared. Both had weapons ready, Serena with her seaweed whip and Luna with her seashell-throwing stars. They were clearly familiar with the water, their eyes trained to spot danger in the dark, but even they seemed uneasy, their gazes darting back and forth. The darkness in the water seemed to pulse and ripple with something malevolent. Then, like a nightmare rising from the depths, a shadowy figure broke through the surface, its long, slick form glistening under the boat's spotlight. "It's the Vodyanoi," Luna whispered, her voice filled with a mix of awe and fear, "the creature of the deep." The Vodyanoi was a grotesque, human-like figure with webbed hands and glowing, unblinking eyes. Its features were distorted, like a nightmare made flesh. Its body was slimy and slick, dripping with water as it rose higher out of the sea, revealing its full height, nearly 10 feet tall. It snarled at us, revealing sharp, jagged teeth that glinted menacingly in the light. "What the hell is this thing?" Tasha growled, baring her teeth as she braced herself. She was still shaking off the nausea from the boat's earlier movements. "Do not let it touch you," Serena warned, her voice tense with urgency. "The Vodyanoi lures people into the water and drowns them. He feeds on their souls." I raised my sword, the steel gleaming in the dim light as I stood at the ready. "Get back on the boat," I shouted at Serena and Luna. "I'll take care of this." "I can't let you do this alone, Eric," Bella said firmly, stepping up beside me. Her whip was coiled in her hand, and her eyes were locked on the creature. She knew what needed to be done, and she wasn't about to back down. The Vodyanoi snarled, its voice a wet, gurgling sound as it hissed, "The Chosen One, I've been sent to kill you." "Well, I'm not dead yet," I replied with a smirk, even as my heart raced. The creature was a challenge, but we had faced worse. We could do this. The Vodyanoi lunged at me with terrifying speed. Its claws swiped through the air, and I barely had time to block with my sword. The impact sent a shockwave through my arm, making me stagger back. "Get the hell off the boat now," Van barked, his voice full of authority. He wasn't going to let this fight get out of hand, but the Vodyanoi was relentless. Luna and Serena dove into the water, expertly slipping beneath the surface. The Vodyanoi's attention shifted momentarily to the movement in the water, and that was when I made my move. With a burst of strength, I lunged at the Vodyanoi, slashing my sword at its exposed chest. The blade dug deep, but the creature's skin was tough, like scales. It roared in pain, but the damage wasn't enough to take it down. "Damn, this thing's hard to kill," I muttered. Bella's whip cracked through the air, wrapping around the creature's arm. She tugged hard, attempting to pull it off balance. "It's not over yet," she called, determination in her voice. Van took aim from the boat, his sniper rifle steady in his hands. "I'm lining up the shot," he said, his voice calm but sharp. "Take cover, Eric." I didn't need to be told twice. I ducked to the side as the Vodyanoi turned toward me again, its massive claws reaching for my throat. But just as it lunged, the sound of a gunshot split the air. The Vodyanoi froze, its body shuddering, and then it collapsed to the ground with a sickening thud. I exhaled, my breath shaky from the adrenaline. The Vodyanoi lay motionless on the deck of the boat, its once glowing eyes now dull and lifeless. Van lowered his rifle with a smirk. "Told you I'd get the kill shot." "Nice shot, man," I said, wiping the sweat off my brow. "But next time, try not to shoot the creature in the heart first." I was aiming for its head, Van replied with a grin. Bella walked over to me, a concerned look on her face. You okay? Yeah, I'm good, I said, offering her a reassuring smile. Just another day in the life of the chosen one. Tasha shook her head, grinning. You're ridiculous, you know that? Hey, someone's got to save the day, I joked, and clearly it's me. Serena and Luna surfaced, and the two girls swam back to the boat, pulling themselves onto the deck. That was intense, Luna said, her voice a little shaken but impressed. Tell me about it, Tasha muttered. Never thought I'd be fighting sea monsters. We've fought worse, I said, glancing at Van, and we'll fight worse again. This isn't over. Not by a long shot, Van agreed. We've made some powerful enemies, and they're not going to stop coming. I nodded, looking out at the horizon. Let them come. We'll be ready. And so, with the Vodyanoi dead and our hearts still beating, we turned the boat around and made our way back toward the shore.
What you have just listened to is a product created by the Three Ranger Bros Studio.
Hosted by three cosplaying fathers who
happen to be massive geeks of all sorts of fandoms.
They are Mark, the Red Cornish Ranger,
Cosplay Dude 637,
and Ty Tiger.
The studio covers different types of YouTube videos, TikToks, podcasts, and live streams.
If you wish to find out who cosplays who, the YouTube channel, the TikTok accounts, and the podcasts, and all of the other social media platforms,
please go to the threerangerbrostudios.com.
Thank you for listening to that story. Remember, my fanfictions are just that, fanfictions, and are not meant to infringe on the mainstream continuity that they come from. I want to give a huge shout out to all my voice actors. Without them, I could not create such amazing content for all of you. I'd also like to thank some of the supporters, starting with Ty Tiger, my Parabatai and business partner, and then there's Mark, the Red Cornish Ranger. Together, we make up the Three Ranger Bros Studio. A special shout out to the members of the Three Ranger Bro Council, Jonathan, aka A-Crown of the Author's Crown YouTube channel, and my son, Xander, aka Cosplay Son 637. We are also part of the Zeo to Hero network ran by Jim and Billy of the Zeo to Hero podcast. For more information about them and everyone who helps us, head over to our website, the3rangerbrostudios.com. Until next time, later days!